The Mutran Chronicles, Chapter 6. Well do I remember the day Makuta Pterodax first revealed his plan. I had only recently returned with the information I had learned on the island of Trankrom, knowledge he listened to without comment. Then he did something no Makuta other than Miserex had ever done. He demanded a convocation. Technically, any Makuta could demand that all members assemble on Destrol, but normally only the leader of the Brotherhood would ever do it. Worse, Pterodax had not bothered to get Miserex's permission to do this. The two were on a collision course from the start. Pterodax stated his idea briefly and clearly. We were to strike at the Great Spirit Mata Nui and seize power in the universe. Some of our number, like Goras and Bitil, were immediately on board. Vampra and Krika kept silent, for reasons of their own. A handful of others raised objections. Pterodax seemed to listen carefully to them, but I could tell he was really memorizing a list of who they were for later. Miserex, of course, saw this for what it was. A naked bid to take over leadership of the Brotherhood. His response was to rise from the head of the table, hurl a bolt of shadow energy from his gauntlet, and blast Pterodax halfway through the wall. I started to rise, intending to help him back to his feet, but a look from Miserex froze me where I stood.
"Treason," said
Miserex.
"Worse than treason. Stupidity. Succeed in your grand design, and you risk the death of the universe itself."
"A risk," said Pterodax, brushing rock dust off his armor.
"I am willing to take." "And what will you use to attack the Great Spirit?"
sneered Miserex.
"Your shadow hand? A troop of Rakshi? You are an insect in the eyes of Mata Nui, and in mine."
If I could have ducked under the table and maintained my dignity as a Makuta, I would have. Pterodax vaulted the length of the room and caught Miserex by the throat. He slammed the leader of the Brotherhood against one wall, then another, before flinging him down to the ground. Before Miserex could react, Pterodax had his staff at our leader's throat.
"You are a relic,"
Pterodax snarled.
"This universe belongs to the strong, and your position of power has made you weak."
Miserex grabbed the staff, sending a surge of lightning up it that sent Pterodax hurtling backwards.
"Insolent worm!"
Miserex shouted, rising.
"You would lead the Brotherhood to destruction and disgrace. I would lead it to supremacy,"
Pterodax said.
"Supremacy that is ours by right."
He turned to the rest of the assembled Makuta.
"I leave it to you to choose who you will follow."
Goras and Bitil moved immediately to his side. Vampra, Antros, Kirox, and Spiriar followed. I hesitated for a moment, but could not escape the fact that of all present, I knew his plan could work. So I too joined Pterodax. Others did as well, with Krika and Icarax being the last to come stand beside us. Only a small number of Makuta sided with Miserex. Seeing that they were outnumbered, they moved, somewhat reluctantly, to our side. Miserex was left alone.
"I claim leadership of the Brotherhood through the will of the Convocation,"
Pterodax said.
"The plan will go forward. As my first act, I sentence you, Miserex, to death. Krika, Spiriar, you will carry out my will."
Miserex, stunned and enraged, looked at the assembled Makuta with contempt.
"You are suicidal fools, tampering with the very order of the universe. And this maniac will lead you nowhere but to your deaths."
The former leader of the Brotherhood stared hard into the crimson eyes of the new one.
This is not over, Pterodax. Kill me, scatter my remains from here to Metru Nui, but someday I will be avenged.
Pterodax had already lost interest. He was huddled with Kirox and myself, discussing how best to strike at the Great Spirit. Krika and Spiriar moved in quickly, knowing Mizrix's penchant for shapeshifting into exceedingly nasty reptilian creatures. They hauled him out of the chamber. I would never see him again. This is not the end of the tale, of course. Over the next year, Goras and Icarax tracked down and killed all the Makuta who had stood by Mizrix's side. Pterodax would order their masks nailed to the wall in the convocation chamber as a warning to others who might consider rebellion. The only thing that puzzled me was that one mask was missing from that group. The one worn by Mizrix. What, I wondered, had Krika done with it? To be continued.